All right, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes. And also, quick question, are you already broadcasting?
Yes.
Wonderful, okay. So I'm gonna turn things over to Mr. Green. Do a little test run here. Your ABCs.
I don't understand.
I want you to do the ABCs, damn it.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z.
No, I just have chicken.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm making them take notes in your alphabet.
Okay.
Okay, so Karina is going to dive into the objectives and basics of the group interview. And Karina's going to cover with the there are multiple ways to run an interview through someone to your training. What I really love are all the updates of people who have already run the first interview. Raise your hand if you've run your first full interview already. All right, okay, in your next level, if you run an interview. And what I want to share is that that's really we're really ahead of schedule. I also want to share that running an interview is not a big deal. You just have to do it. Okay? Karina, I would imagine you're going to mention some of this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, rather than going through a normal, stereotypical cut-through bio, I just want to let you know that Karina was one of the first people that I got a chance to meet when I got asked to for a in 2010. And since then, no individual has been an example of more loyalty and progression in the business than Karina. She's been here since 2009/10 when she was a college student, scholarship winner, ranch, with the pilot sales manager for 2 summers, and then she took the lead and went on to become a district manager. Here she is now running South Miami. And I'm really excited because right now I believe South Miami is about to explode this week. It's the SLC push based on the results. And everyone knows Karina, everyone loves Karina. Karina brings some neat atmosphere for office. Karina also has been the Florida Caribbean instructor and master of the group interview for years. So what I'm going to have Karina do is cover some basic thoughts. Make sure you take a note, and we're virtual, so now we're flipping the script a little bit, so we're going to be virtual for them. So Karina, I'm just going to turn things over to you as you cover the dynamics, detail of the group interview.
Sweet. Thank you. So, oh God. Okay. So there are 3 parts to the group interview. Who can tell me what is the first part, the one that we already got drilled on? Pre-screen, right? So you have the pre-screen. The objective of the pre-screen, there's 2 main objectives. The first is to figure out who exactly it is that you're going to keep for the group interview. And once you figure out who it exactly is that you're keeping, the next part for me is establishing a connection, maybe not a friendly connection, but you get to know the applicant in some way, shape, or form. So that is the...
Sure. Can we use the board real quick? Just a lot easier to
engage. I have you on mute, Jeff, just because when I talk, it like echoes in here. So if you need to say anything to me, just...
Sign language?
Yeah, basically. And then I'll unmute you. Okay. All right, so you have the pre-screen. Trying to make it so that you guys can see too.
Thank you.
Right? And this is who to keep. And then I think connection. And then tone. And then setting the tone is really important too. It also gives clarity to the applicants as to what's going to happen. All right? Then you have the group interview. There should be a handout with the objectives of the interview. I'm going to cover the 7 main parts of the group interview. And then I'll cover when it is exactly you're getting quizzed on them.
Objectives of the interview.
Yeah. So you have the intro. All right, so for those of you that have run an interview, what what is the intro exactly? What's the objective of the intro?
Let them know what it's about.
Yeah, so you're letting them know what's about to happen. So again, it's setting the tone and then clarity. So intro's tone, clarity, that way they know what to expect and what's expected of them. Right? After the intro, you're explaining the company. And then product comes right after that. And this is very similar to the Cutco demo, right? When you're in the Cutco demo, what's the objective when you talk about the company? What do you want to establish? Credibility, right? So this is establishing credibility as an organization, because you wouldn't want to work for somewhere that's not too established or doesn't have a lot of promise. And then the product gives product conviction and credibility as well, right? So then you have what's called the market section. I'm going to put a star next to this. The reason why that is a very important section is because oh God. is because when they go home, right, what are their parents going to ask them? What is the job, right? What are they probably going to say? I'm selling knives. And sometimes you get positive reaction. That's if the parents have heard of Cutco, they've seen the presentation, they know the product. But most of the time, like with my parents, they thought I was crazy. So your job here for the market section is to give them enough conviction that, number one, this stuff works, and then number two, that they can do it. So that way, in whatever way they communicate with their parents, however that might be, they're able to convey that at least. And even if their parents still don't want them to do it, you'll have people that are, 18, 19, 20 years old that, frankly, it doesn't really matter what their parents think. This is their job, their opportunity, okay? So after the market, you go into pay. I'll put another star next to this. It's really important for pay that you are slow and then clear. And then I'll give you a few tips on how to execute pay the right way. After pay, you explain the training. That's the most brief part of the whole interview. And then you go into perks. I'm going to put another star next to perks. If you nail perks, and I'm going to cover what exactly is in perks in a second, that's when you nail the kids that you want, right? So when we recruit, we always say there's always people that we can get, right? Who can tell me what do I mean by that? The applicants that we can get easily.
People that just need the job. Yeah.
They need the job. They really are looking for work. Not that they aren't, great kids, but I would say I wouldn't call them a 5-star recruit. Where they're great, you can give them a shot. And then you also have the kids that you want. So everyone in this room, I would imagine, everyone in Gainesville, you're the example of people, the kind of people that we want to have, right? So what are reasons that you guys wanted to work for Vector? Right? You wanted to earn some income. You wanted to gain experience. Resume builder, right? So a lot of the top people, I don't think anyone's willing to work for free, right? If we can all agree on that, money is definitely important. But the reason that people stick is the experience. It's a lot of the intangibles that you don't really get anywhere else. You can make a lot of money as a bartender, but then you're working late hours. You're not really getting as much experience. And I can go on and on about that. So the intro and the company section is going to be the first thing that you're going to get drilled on. So before I cover how that's going to go over, what I think you need to understand, learning the interview is not too difficult. Have any of you already looked over like the interview packet? Right? I know you guys have. You obviously have. If you haven't, the first time you look at it, you might be a little intimidated. It's about 13 to 15 pages. I forget exactly how many. But the information isn't hard, right? Because it's not new information. This is your job. So you already know how to talk about your job. This is just a way that it's ordered, and there's very specific verbiage in there. But that's why the interview is not hard to learn, because it's information you already know. It's just a different way to organize it. So I wouldn't get intimidated by it. You just have to run it. You just got to do it. If you don't really have any interviews set in the system, talk to your manager about running one in particular. You don't really have to have a lot of people for an interview. Just get like one person. There's a lot of people that we boot from the pre-screen, get those people and interview them. So that way, just the more interviews you do, the better you'll get at them. And all you have to say, pretend that this is your interview packet, right? Or I guess more accurately, this is your interview packet. Let's say you have like a bunch of paper. When you start, you just go, I already won, so I'm gonna get started. They just changed the interview script on me, so I'm just gonna read right off this thing just to make sure I don't miss anything, right? And then you just look down, look up, just like in a demo. It's really not that difficult. Politicians from all over the world, do they memorize the information when they address the public? No, what do they read off of? A script, like literally, like they just read right off of it. So don't be afraid to just read right off of it. You know, and that's the thing we have to understand is that you're in charge. What's cool is that they need the job. You already have the job. So that's gonna definitely make you feel a lot more confident. And when you're, you know, in that situation, understand that there's never, at least the way that I think of it, I'm always in control. Even when I'm not in control, I just pretend that I am in control. So if the power goes out, how do you react? Right? Do you like? I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's just a hurricane, normal stuff. Can you just turn on the flashlight real quick? All right, cool. Just keep going. That literally happened the other day in the office. Power just went out for like 10 minutes, but you know, if you freak out, then it puts you in a different position of power. So let's say you're reading from your script and you lose your spot. You know, Jeff already taught you guys, if you lose your spot, what do you do? Drink water, right? Take a power pause, right? I so many times in the interview, I might lose my place, and I'll just look down. I might write something down. Okay, so let's move on to pay, everybody. And then you just keep going. Like it's not awkward to pause and to lose your spot. They probably think you're just evaluating them even more. So that's what you don't really have to be worried about. So I love running interviews because I feel like in any position that you go into, there's some form of recruiting. It's what I've learned. The more I've networked and the more I've met people, and also I'm just like older too than all of you. So all of my friends are like not in college anymore. Yeah.
Also, another thing that I did when I lost my place is that I pretend like if I'm looking at their application, and I'm actually looking at the manual.
Yeah.
So I look down, I look up at them, and then I pretend like I'm writing something.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll teach you how like you hold the applications at the same time, and it's such a great tool to use. So you're always recruiting in anything that you go into, and I think just conveying the information the right way is really important. This is the job is selling knives. Can we agree if we all heard we were selling knives on the phone, you may or may not have shown up to the interview? I wouldn't have shown up to the interview. If my friend had texted me like, yo, you're going to be selling knives, like I wouldn't have shown. So being able to you know, explain what we do and in a proper way, there's an art to it. Now, what's cool is that to learn how to do it, that's the science part. It's really not that hard. You're just reading right off the script. Once you get the script down, then we can get into the more advanced things of like how to be like a master recruiter. But you don't really have to worry about that right now. What's cool is that, you know, we always say in training, Cutco sells what? Cutco sells itself. The position itself is great. It's going to sell itself regardless. The pay is unbelievable. You're not going to see it anywhere else. When you cut the penny, they're going to freak out. So there's a lot to kind of cushion your lack of skill set right now. Eventually, you'll learn, you know, the art of recruiting. But right now, we just need you guys to get good at the science part of it. So a few things that for you guys to write down. First of all, you got to look sharp. There should never be an applicant dressed sharper than you. Never. And you don't need to spend $1,000 on a suit to look sharper than them. So ladies, you know, look put together. Gentlemen, look, you know, cleaned up. If you have a beard, just, you know, clean up the beard a little bit. If, you know, you have product in your hair, that's always better as well. You know, the little things like a tie clip or a pocket square go a long way, just because a lot of applicants don't think about wearing those. So they should be able to look at you and want to, I guess, look up to you, even though you're probably their age. That's the thing too. Like you interview people that are your age, some are even older than you, but it doesn't really matter just because you look like $1 million, even though you only spent 100, right? So the other thing, I guess the other point to understand, and I kind of already said this, is you're in control. So if you get to the point you freak out, and you probably will get to the point you freak out, just your demeanor is key. What kind of demeanor do you want to have in the interview in general? Confident professional. Another word I'm looking for though. You're not supposed to be what with them? You're not supposed to be impressed, right? So you're never impressed. So you're in control, you're confident, but also it's just very matter-of-fact demeanor. Jeff does a great job of doing that. If you've ever seen his pre-screen, I don't think he's intimidating, but he's very, very firm. Now, here's the other thing too. Don't try to be someone that you're not. So you can never go wrong, I think, with just a neutral demeanor, right? But ladies, I would say just because we're females, I personally need to kind of step it up a bit and be a little bit more firm when I'm dealing with a lot of gentlemen. But if I have an interview, you know, filled with girls, I'm not going to be like super, super intimidating. So the situation is always the boss, and you'll get the hang of it. But I think to start, you can never go wrong with just having very neutral, not impressed demeanor. You don't have to be, you know, like super aggressive or anything. You don't have to be really mean, but you never want to say things that puts you on their level, right? That has to do with mystique. So you can tell me, what are words that you probably want to stay away from saying during the interview process? Bro. You don't want to say cool. Never ever say bro. Well, filler words for sure. What'd you say? Finna. Never say finna. So things like guys, cool, you know, and little things like saying you. So that's something that Jeff taught me when I was his PSM, is he would say, or he caught me saying you. So during the whole interview, I would say like, oh yeah, you would be doing this, you'd be doing that, you'd be doing this. And by saying that, what did I pretty much just guarantee them? You pretty much got the job. So it almost just eliminated the whole interview just by me saying that one word. So when he told me that, it was like a huge light bulb. So instead of saying you, just say my representatives, my students. So I always say students, not representatives, but you can say people on my team, if accepted, my students, if everything were to work out, you know, little things like that pull aways. So you don't really need to memorize that. Just make it part of your vocabulary. Just like in the demo, what do you want? What's the word you want to say a lot in the demo? Expensive. So during the interview, just say if accepted, if everything were to work out, you know, if selected. So I say if selected, if accepted, if everything were to work out, I don't know, like 30, 40 times in the entire interview. And then instead of saying you, just my students, my students, my students, my students. And then yeah, I know I did a good job when in the post, and I'll cover the post in a second, they go, if I were to get accepted, like, what do I do? And they ask whatever question that they have. So that's how you know that you did a good job if they're also saying it too. All right. So the product is the easiest part because it's the demo. Here's the thing with the product. A lot of new recruiters try to act like they're in a demo because that's what you're used to. All of you have done, you know, God knows how many demos. So you can't be demo you, right? It has to be, again, not impressed. And here's why it's not impressed, because the product's already impressive. So if you say something like, wasn't that awesome? It almost comes across as too salesy. Does that make sense? Some people look us up, they type in vector marketing and they see, you know, scam or whatever. A lot of things that aren't true. And what's great is sometimes they'll still show up to the interview, but they're already skeptical. So when they see somebody like trying to be too salesy with the product, it almost comes off the wrong way. So with the product, it's just very matter of fact. You cut the penny and you have to like, they always freak out. They're always like, oh my God. And you're like, yeah. So how do you think customers react to that? They freak out just like we did. I'm like, exactly. Here's the other reason why you want to do that. If you're too charming, if you're too confident, if you're too salesy, if you will, what if you have someone in that room that's shy, that's really, really smart, but they're shy? So when they see you being very confident, very charming, very salesy, now what are they thinking? I'm not like that. So because I'm not like that, I won't do well. So again, that neutral personality will attract all types of applicants. So the more neutral you are with that, the better it'll be. Market section, my only tip, memorize it word for word. Just look it over. That should be one of the things to look over a lot. The company's just easy to memorize. The product's easy to memorize. The intro also is pretty easy, but it's important to memorize the intro because that's the first time they're hearing you speak. So that's why If you look down and you say, my name is Lauren Mira, I'm an assistant manager at the South Miami office, you should know your name. So that first paragraph, when you look at the packet, that should be memorized as soon as possible. And then as you look it over, the one to spend more time on, I believe, is market. Okay? Any questions so far? Any takeaways so far? No? Yeah.
Just like never like being impressed with them.
Mm-hmm.
Always like just be like neutral, like you said.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The part where you're saying, like, not saying you, say if selected, that's a big one.
Yeah. And you'll catch yourself saying you like in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Mine would be the situation as boss. Because I've been through a situation where, I mean, I'm short, everyone knows that, and then I run an interview with nothing but tall men. So being more like firm and more strict definitely helps.
Yeah, 1000%. So moving on to pay. I'm gonna make it so easy for you guys to do pay. This is all you have to do. So it'll come on the screen, right? The two parts of the pay, the base pay and the guaranteed pay. All you have to say is like, all right, everyone, go ahead and write down everything you see on the board. When you're done writing, then I'll explain it. It takes about 2 minutes, I would say, to write everything down, which is ample time for you to gather yourself, right? If you look at their applications, this is your time to take notes on why it is that you're going to accept them later, or any questions you might have, right? So I'll be like, Carlos Pelayo's a little quiet, so I'll write quiet on there. So in the post, I can ask him, hey, you were a little bit quiet in the interview. Is there a reason for that? Because ideally you get to the point where you're interviewing 10, 12, 15 people, you're not really going to remember. So use the pay section to gather your thoughts. And by the way, it really freaks them out when you're writing on their applications, which is just an added bonus. But I think it's more important for me to give genuine reasons as to why I'm going to accept somebody. They were confident. It's also fresh in my head, so I can be like, they've answered like, 7 questions or whatever. So I'll write all that down. And then also for new recruiters, it gives you a chance to look at your interview, because at this point, you're good, I think, over halfway done, and you might be a little bit flustered. You might have missed something, so that'll be a good chance to just look over your interview for a second and just gather yourself. Cool. So pay that'll make it a lot easier for you. The base pay, the guaranteed pay, the way that we run our trainings, don't hype up the base pay. None of you are actually excited about base pay, so that'll be easy for you. You want to be clear with base pay, but you don't want to make it seem like everybody earns a base pay, right? And then with the incentive pay, as you go through each, I guess, milestone, if you will, just be slow. I think this is the time where maybe you write on the board, you write some examples, ask a lot of questions. So I ask the question, does that make sense? You get me? Does that make sense? Excuse me?
I say still with me.
Still with me, right? So I make sure to pause a lot in the base pay, because their parents are going to ask them, how do you get paid? And I want to make sure that I kind of hand them off on a silver platter and they're able to convey it to their parents. Okay? Yeah.
Would it be smart to ask them, like, oh, if you were to work for us, which one would you shoot for?
I wouldn't ask it then.
You want to ask that?
I just tell them, like, yeah, everyone on our team earns the incentive pay. Most people on the team earn the incentive pay.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
What I do is I'll ask them, but I'll make it obvious. So having said that, which side do you guys think that most people focus on? Yeah, of course, the incentive pay. And it's just obvious by that point. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, hey, what side would you focus
Yeah.
on? You want to leave them on to that.
Okay.
Just assume everyone's going to earn the incentive. Okay. So then you move on to training. The most important thing with training is that everyone understands that training, I think, is highly accredited. And when I was a new recruiter, I would skip over the section. You'll see when you read the interview package, there's a section where it says we've been in part of schools and colleges, and again, that establishes a lot more credibility. So I wouldn't skip over that. And so no, the training is great. And then I just slide in, like it's not paid for, but we don't charge for training either. Someone gets paid as soon as they start doing appointments. And it's important to be clear when you're saying that we're not paid for, because some people might walk in thinking that they get paid for training when it's not the case. We loan them almost $500 worth of product. We're not going to pay them for training too. So and again, that's all in the manual. Very easy to just read off of. So perks. What you cover in perks, the 3 most important things, are advancement, experience, and team. Those are the 3 main parts of the perk section, is advancement, experience, and teams. For the advancement section, when you talk about branch, I would just mention a branch manager that you know and their experience, right? For those of you from Metro Miami, talk about Andrew Evans. Talk about any branch that you know their story, and I would even just say their just how old they are. I think that's really impressive too. If they're 20 years old, 19 years old, 21 years old, and they're about to graduate college while running a business, 2 businesses, 3 businesses in a row. Right. The experience section, again, I would read that over word for word. It's been the same for a while. So you really have to nail that part. And then the team section, I think just the main part of the team, you don't have to say how, you know, we hang out at night after team meeting and we have like water balloon fights or manhunt, or like, you don't really have to talk about that, but it's more so, I think the most important part of the team is just the fact that they'd be surrounding themselves with a champion team, you know, with people that are, it's an environment that's conducive to their success. So everyone's team is different. So I think you have to talk about, you know, talk to your district manager or your PSM about what your particular team section is. But the overall impression is, wow, this is an amazing group of people that's going to help me be a better version of myself. And I'm excited to contribute to their big goals. That's all there really is to it. So there's obviously a lot more detail, but as long as you convey that message, you'll be fine. Any questions so far? Jeff, I don't know if you have any questions there. Okay, so let's move on to the post. There's definitely a way to do an advanced post, but what I'm going to cover now is just, I'm going to keep it very, very simple. There's 3 questions that you want to ask in the post. Okay. I'm assuming I answered all your questions, and I'd like you to write that down verbatim. I'm assuming I answered all your questions. Yeah, Jeff?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I want to stop there for a second. For any level members, thoughts or tips on group interview sections. If you notice, maybe I'll give you a second. If you notice, this is not, Karina's going to go through the script word for word with you. You guys are going to have a script, and also her interviews are already on YouTube. It says FC interview, in every section she's doing it live. So that's how you'll learn it from there on out. At the end, your major score from the next prep is to be able to drill for skill the interview. First half by next prep, rest of the interview by Hogan. Okay, so by the time you get to Hogan, all of you will be able to run an interview. But the key is, what are the next level members if you run a branch specifically, or next level, anyone next level? What are some keys to either really big sections or demeanor or just how to execute a great interview? Sean?
I would say demeanor. Yeah, it's in different category. But bigger interview, you know, what really good is don't say you. That basically proves
Right, for example, so Eric, you would get paid. When I say that, it's almost assuming what? Yeah. So Brendan, what you do for the job is, versus what Karina says, what our representatives do. What my students who work here do. And Karina, only but goodie for the group interview. I don't teach group interview anymore, but when I did, every section, next level, you don't know this from that. Every section, intro, company, product, market, training, pay, perks. Right before every section, I said, now, for those of you that are accepted for the position in terms of the company, for those of you that are accepted for the position today, as far as the product goes, we're going to the product. Now, let me take the time to cover for those of you who get the job today, market. Market. So just a reminder, you ain't got it.
I like that.
So for those of you that are accepted, For those of you who do get accepted, for those of you who do get the position, I want to just check out something that's training. It's an automatic pull away, because people don't think they have the job. They ain't got it. Brandon.
You?
I would just feedback off of being yourself. I noticed that.
Yeah.
Myself, so I got more myself.
I can't hear.
So
Are you talking like seeing in the office or seeing when you're doing it like that?
There you go. Firm and fair. That's it. Pretty, you said that, right? Firm and fair?
Yes.
Firm but fair. Firm but fair. It's not uber professional, but you're also not, hey guys, and it's not a comedy show either. Okay, hello.
My first interview was a comedy show. I would say so many jokes. Because I thought it was a demo. It wasn't on TLA.
Oh, I can run a whole different workshop if you're female. A whole different workshop. If you're female, you have to be the AGBIC
They all worked, but they didn't stay. Because they loved me, but they didn't understand the job.
in charge.
So you can't be like,
Okay? But not total, I don't want to work with this lady. It's not true. It's not true. Okay? So, ready? So, one more time. If you're a female, it's better to be on the firmer side, firm but fair, because what happens is you'll gain the respect, right, of the male counterparts, but also for the females, it's someone that they look up to. So, it's just kind of how women in business, it's one of the things you can be aware of. Right? I'll go Eddie.
So yeah, I mean the group interview isn't just like that one part, right? It's a continuation. So right before you go into the pre, they're doing that. So I think a lot of times people kind of forget they don't keep that. What I always did, but as they talk, we check
Market?
qualify that. Know that
I just put a star.
and making sure that you are
Right, so I'll run an interview. And can anyone, you guys can go play pretend. So can anyone guess as to why we would choose, why word of mouth advertising is so strong? What do you think? Why is word of mouth advertising so powerful? Right, and why is that powerful? Right. Okay, who else? Right? You know, write down. She could be good. Something in her teeth.
You say something in her teeth.
I actually do write. I will write. What I'll write notes on is I'll write notes on what
She
they
could be good.
answer.
Something in her teeth.
Increased trust factor for the mouth. And I'll bring that back up in the post. And Mila, one of the things when I asked about word of mouth, I'd like to put down here the response to the comments of that trust, so you understand how it works. Really taking notes for the post. That's
I mean, just so further, I mean, when you keep in the group, the first paragraph is all about the expectations. So people set for you. So one was like, if you have any questions, go ahead and write it down and ask them again one-on-one. If they ask you a question during the meeting, it's like, all right, that's great. Go ahead and write that down.
And like I said before, people write it down on the pictures themselves.
Yeah.
Just for sake of time. You can do it in a way that's firm, but doesn't belittle people. Like random question. I said later.
I said later.
I've seen managers do a version of that to people. And they're not, even if you send them, they're not going to do it. They're not coming to the change. We'll go here in the back. Yeah, so we'll role play that, right? Everyone, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the group interview. Thanks for the invitation. Everyone can pull close to the desk. If you're ready, you can have you pulled right up. Just a little more. Stop. Okay, now kneel right next to her. Can you touch the chairs, please? Perfect. And then come to all the way up and face this way from one end. A little bit more. Okay, cool. From here. See, I'm the one controlling the interview. Good. John.
Yeah, the seat selection is really important. Because sometimes they'll just sit wherever they want. So you just want to make sure that they're. It also shows that you're in control too. So like, let's say Michael's in my interview and he sits in front of me. I'm like, scoot your chair a little bit to the right.
You have to know.
I want them to know I'm meticulous.
Sometimes
about
we
it.
have a bad show to finish training when someone interviews with Dilly with Pilar, she runs an interview, but she's not promoting the same exact numbers and the job is as the Jeff who's running the training.
Yep.
Okay, I can get 100% sure to training. Don't tell them they have to go into people's homes and don't tell them they have to make their own calls. You got an 80% sure to training. The minute they hear Andrew Evans training and what you're going to go up the real job is, oh, wait a minute, I heard this, it's this, that's not the job I want. They don't come back and say. And versus, when you know exactly what's being promoted, that's why I think every manager should watch their system. But that's great. Why do Brad just get such great shows, training, and great launches? It's the same person, it's consistent. Yeah, you're saying the same thing. All the people who showed up for the training like what they saw in the interview. Okay. Good. Any other? We'll go here, and then we'll go also back to Fort Lauderdale. If there are any other next level members, Antoine, David, Karina, and Maggie.
Yeah, just in terms of actually learning the interview.
Yeah, you're not going to learn this interview by watching Tim's video and reading the script. You got to get in there. And you guys remember from the video, first up, Nick J? You want to see action taken? Give someone a plan and not enough time. So ready, Rachel Gutman, your first interview is next week. And she's already had a schedule. Cool. And what's the range? Next level, I said, what's the range of interviews? Not you two, I just said it. What's the range of interviews you have to run for you go, oh, okay, this is like good done. The range, I always said, it's in about 10 years.
10, anytime.
Go ahead. 7, 11. Anywhere, so I don't know why, just somewhere around the 7 to 11.
Oh, he's talking about.
If it's more than a dozen, you don't feel comfortable, you're doing wrong. Like 7, 11, around like 9 or 10, you go, oh, okay, you can throw the notes down. Pilot, any other feedback on that? I'll let Karina go back. Okay, Ms. Karina, I will mute.
Okay. Yeah, so Antoine, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I don't think he can hear you.
All right, that's fine. What I will say is that every section's important, but if you really want to nail the interview, 2 sections are way more important than the rest. And that's the market section and the pay section, because at the end of the day, they're really coming in to see how the job works and how they get paid. And the rest they'll just pick along in training and whatnot. And the truth is that if they're really sharp people with a good background, then they're most likely their parents have a large influence in their life, and they're just going to ask simple questions of how does the job work, what do you do, and how are you getting paid. So if you really want to nail a good interview,
I mentioned that earlier too. Market, pay, and then I like the last section, which is perks. Can you talk about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be
very much.
good.
Back over to you. Thank you, Antoine.
So,
David, you as well. You get a pretty decent show.
did you want me to cover the post, by the way, or skip that?
Do you want to change your attitude? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Shut your mouth. Okay. David, real quick, a couple more thoughts. David might be one of our top recruiters. Top 2, top 3.
Just maintaining a proper.
David Delgado.
Just keep again. I can piggyback reiterate a lot of what Karina said, but maintain the proper demeanor, maintain the proper form, maintain consistent from the way you greet to the way you pre-screen to the way you group, and then the way you post as well. Maintain consistency. Consistency is key. If they see someone who's consistent, they want to see a boss. They don't want to. You may be younger than the person that you're interviewing, or around the same age. They don't want to. They want to see someone who is confident. They want to see someone who is, but they are expecting to be seeing a manager, not necessarily someone who is just as young as them. But when they see someone who's professional, see someone who's consistent in what they say, that has confidence, right? Pauses, makes everything. It's just going to be a lot better for you as well overall.
Okay. Last thing. I'll put things over to Karina, and we'll debrief. Okay. And how much more do you have? Just the post, right? After this.
Yeah, that was it. I don't have to, though.
Okay. Okay, I want to end with this then. And I'll say it one way, and then we're going to have NLG going to help with this one. You will never, ever, 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 ever in life, not just back here, recruit, impress, and retain someone Who feel like they're sharper than you. So now we write that down. You'll never recruit, retain, attract anyone who thinks they're sharper than you. And please, my friends, don't mistake that for just simply how you dress necessarily. Or please also don't mistake that with, oh, you have to be cool. A lot of our effective managers aren't cool. They're also managers. Cool is not a factor to succeed in our companies. 3/4 of you are not cool. Including me.
It's not cool.
You don't
Okay? There was no prerequisite that says be part of a United team and successfully cool. Now, there's some cool kids here. Guys, girls. In general, cool is not a prerequisite to be successful. So next level, what are some things we talked about? And I want you guys to write this down. Some key attributes of someone who's been a recruit. Sure. Well, these are always going to be what is going to attract the A-player candidates that come to your office? Not the one who needs a job that can do anything, but maybe I don't need to work, but Will Lovelace, right? Will Lovelace in Clearwater. He's a full-time football player. You know, financially comes from the right background, like several of us did. But he chooses to be here. So let's get this done. Next level. What are some of the things? One thing. Okay, so we write that down. Having something that people want. Something that people want. Maybe a successful lifestyle. Okay? What do people see that they want? A certain type of life, a certain type of relationship, a business. Okay, I know for me, I watch Aldi Leonardo, how he runs his family and how he's also a man of God, he's very Catholic. So I watch him and how he raises his family. He has something that I want, and it's that kind of family. I've always been attracted to that.
Intelligence or wisdom.
Yeah, someone who's intelligent or wisdom, but also let's go to the next level discussion. Someone who's intelligent and has wisdom offers what? Can offer what to people? Coaching and mentorship, right? So someone who could be a coach or mentor, I would write that one down. Someone who could be a coach or mentor. Next level, what else did we discuss? What are some other A-player ways to attract, retain, and recruit people? If someone is, we just said number one more time, has something or a type of life that people want. Number two, we said intelligence, which causes them to be a great guide or mentor. Alex. Yeah, they're consistent. And David just said, they're consistent people. Right? How they act here is how they act there. And there are many things you can see in our division that are very consistent. If someone, and I use this example earlier, if someone said, oh, Jeff, we have this rep in United, yeah, they sold 50 grand for the push, they did really well. Cool. But they cheated. It's okay, Gambo won't care if they brought the business. They'll look past that. Would you imagine would anyone say that? Hell no. Not here. Not here. But I even went so far as to call, in general, some people up for sandbagging for the push message, which I still don't have. Hoping they learned that lesson. Bro. Like 6 people. Well, 6 to 8 people sandbagging for the push. I know for a fact on tabs, by the way. It's sent to me. Sandbagging old orders until the first day of the push. So you sell for 2 weeks, only get big orders, and you wait for the first day to put it in. Because on Monday you have to do that.
Yeah.
People, what people don't realize, tabs come in, we know, we contact customers.
Like he talked about.
Especially when you sell that much normally, all of a sudden you sell that much. You sell 7 grand the first day. But great lesson learned. You know what? Because I did it. I got a call from the president, not the region. So I'll deal with my region, I got a call from him. Probably not a good thing to do. And I didn't mean harm, I was just really competitive and young and idiot. I wanted to impress, and I just said, that's kind of cheating. I said, I'm so sorry. I've never done it since 1997. Oh, that's it. Leila. Mystique. I would write down that's a wonderful word. What does mystique mean? The ability to create boundaries and separation. Mystique. Okay. Other next level. Confidence. One step ahead is a big one. People who are one step ahead. When I think of Micah Bromwitz, when I think of someone who could recruit a lot of great people to his team, one thing that wasn't quite mentioned directly, I think of Micah Bromwitz. He offers and provides what to a lot of people? Value. Guidance about mentorship and coaching. Value. You ever been to one of those? Who's in Clearwater? These local Saturday preps? One of those is of high value for a long time. You go to one, you get a lot of value. Your Wednesday team meeting are a leadership education workshop every Wednesday. High value. People are attracted to that. They don't care about their BMW. Some people do. But if you know Mike, the BMW agent, got it together. You know Mike. Well, I didn't give it to him. That's Mike. So most of you are not I'm attracted to the BMW type. You guys are all, in Clearwater, you guys are all like him, attracted to value building people. Okay? Yeah, they know how to influence people. So, ready? I'm going to write that list out loud again. Let's cover that. What's the list again? Start at the top. Influencers. One step ahead. Esteem. Intelligence, wisdom, coaching, guiding. Have something that people want, offers value. Consistent and confident. One step ahead. And magnetic, that's my favorite one. There are things that all go into that, from how you present yourself, your dress, your hygiene, confidence, your vernacular, vocabulary, how you speak, what language you be using. The language you be using will attract a certain type of person versus the type of vernacular that you offer and present in presentations to be quite different. Right? So that's why you don't say finna or what the other ones we use. You don't use bro, dope. Although it might be dope.
Or a mute tone.
Dope's fine. So ready, and we won't do this now, but think about where you are right now, and on that list, are you any of those? Do you feel like you're any of those, right? Because if someone walks in and doesn't feel any of those 6, they're probably not going to come to your training. You like balls on that one? Okay. Outstanding. Ms. Karina, any final thoughts? I'll let you wrap up here. I appreciate you delivering.
Let me,
I can't hear you.
all right,
There
can
you
you hear
go.
me now?
I can.
Great. So in general, the art of recruiting really just starts with you getting the basics down. I would say the faster you can learn the interview, the better, and that's just by doing more and more interviews. My last assistant manager last summer, he literally got his friends that like went away to college. They were in football. He like brought them over his house and he like did, I think it was like 3 or 4 group interviews at his home before he ran his first one at my office. And he just, got the practice in. So whatever you need to do to just practice as many times as possible. And even if like you have an interview that's scheduled and let's say like no one shows, run an interview. You were planning on recruiting for that hour, put a trophy in front of you and just say the interview in front of the trophy. It's repetition so that you can not just memorize it, but what? Internalize it, right? So you want to internalize as much as possible. And yeah, I'm excited to see who can step up and can start getting good shows to training and start really contributing to the office. And it's cool when you recruit someone, then you see them in training and they sell. And that really started with you. So that's really where you start getting to the next level of the Vector experience. So that's all I got, Jeff.
Wait, I want you to bow and say thank you.
Can I do one of these? Thank you.
That's racist. Round of applause.